Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and welcome to another episode of Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Today, I'm here with Philipa Gamse, and she has some great information and insight to help you boost your business. So why don't we start by you introducing yourself?
Hi, thank you, Charisse. I'm Philippa, and I'm a digital marketing and analytics person. And usually when people hear the word analytics, they go, oh no, switch off now. So hopefully people won't do that. But what I do is help. I mostly work with Google Analytics. And what that means is I help business owners and people to look at what the numbers in the analytics can tell them about what's going on their website that they wouldn't otherwise know. Mm-hmm. And that can be all sorts of things that many times I've seen opportunities for new products and services or new types of market, or just basically finding out what's not working on your website and where people are getting stuck, where they're not doing what you want them to do, how you can make it all better.
That is fantastic. I actually, for a couple of months, I worked with somebody who, we were getting tons of traffic to our website, but people just were not doing anything once they got there. And so I wish I would have known about you back in October.
Well, you can still use me. I know that I should say that live there, right?
No, absolutely. Okay, so I saw that you've helped over 5,000 people. I mean, you're really an expert in this field, which is why I'm so happy that you're here and appreciate it. So how does somebody like me who has this website, or maybe we have 40 websites, because sometimes, we're entrepreneurs, so we do lots of things. And what do we need to know? And is it even worth us learning how to, well, let me just ask that first. What do we need to know?
Well, you mean to work with somebody like what you really need to know? Okay, so the number one question that I like to hear from a client is exactly that, is what do I need to know to run my business better? Mm-hmm. So it's actually not about the analytics. And most clients don't come and offer to pay me lots of money to give them 50 pages of charts. And so you'll be glad to know that normally I don't do that. But really, that's the point. I mean, you don't have to dig into the analytics yourself, although it would be helpful maybe if you wanted to try to. But, I certainly have no idea how my taxes work. I just trust my accountant, which is probably also really not wise, but there you go. I don't know. But when I work with people, it's really more of a partnership, because the most important thing when you're looking at analytics is, what are you trying to do? And obviously the person who knows best what their business is trying to do is the business owner or the person that I'm working with, right? And because that's the only way into all the numbers, because the amount of data is absolutely overwhelming, and that's why people glaze over. I mean, there is just so much stuff, and there are so many charts, and there are so many graphs, and there are so many different tables. And if you, I believe the old version of Google Analytics had like 140 default reports or something crazy like that. And now probably even more than that was. And so how do you get into it? And the answer is, you have to narrow it down to, what do I need to know? What am I going to do something about? So are there things that I'm trying to do today that aren't working? Or that I'd like to know how well they're working so that I can do it better? Because you can't possibly measure every single metric you can think of. And there's no point in doing that anyway, because you wouldn't know what to do about it. So having really understanding your strategy, and then either applying that yourself to see what's going on, or working with somebody like me to apply it to see what's going on and start working on a plan to investigate what can we do differently, is the way to get into it.
Okay.
So what's your key goal is maybe the best question to ask,
That is always the goal with anything. What's your why? What do you want to accomplish? If people can't answer those two questions, they might as well not have a business, because they need to know who they're trying to direct to, especially with Google, right? You need to know, you can't send it out to the world. Isn't it better to have a niche in like specific areas, or is it not?
That I don't know. I think
Okay.
that's a classic. Yeah, that must be an it depends. I don't.
That's true.
Yes.
I love that answer. That's the answer I give all of my clients. It
Right.
depends because it
Well,
really does.
I think all consultants use it depends rather a lot.
That's true. Yes, my clients are used to. Let's say it together. It
It depends.
depends.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to like what size of a business at what point should I contact you for help? Is it a startup or is it somebody who's been doing it for a while? Or it depends.
Well, it's not so much the size of the business. It's more about what, well, I mean, you need some level of website traffic. I mean, if you're getting 2 visitors a day,
Right.
there's really not much we can do with that data because there's just not enough of it to give you anything sort of, as we would say, statistically significant.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you also want to set your analytics up so that they're going to help you. So one of the things to understand is that when you get Google Analytics out of the box, it's not necessarily that helpful because it has some very strange settings in its default application that one of the first things I do is come along and change those. For example, it only retains data by default for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
So if you wanted to know, which most businesses do, how well did we do this quarter as opposed to last quarter, if you had the default implementation, you couldn't tell because you would
Wow.
have already lost the data.
That's
Why they did that, I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, for example, we have this very interesting metric called engaged sessions, which is what they put in instead of bounce rate. So
Okay.
that's good news because bounce rate, most of us hated because it was actually a very meaningless and very distracting metric.
Right. And depressing.
And depressing. Well, yes and no, but anyway, engaged users is what's in Google Analytics 4 now, which I find much more useful. I mean, yesterday I was talking to somebody whose client, their key metric was page views.
Okay.
And there was some questions about whether or not they were tracking page views correctly, and which obviously needed sorting out because if your data is rubbish, then everything else is going to be rubbish. But having done that, then I wanted her to say to the client, why are you tracking page views? Because really, honestly, that's not particularly helpful. That's like saying traffic, right? How many visitors did we get today? Is that better than last week? Yes. Well, so what? Because my favorite answer is it depends, and my favorite question is so what, right? Because what does that tell you, and what are we going to do about it?
Right.
Were they the right types of visitors? If you get 20,000 visitors and none of them do a single thing,
Right.
so what? And if you get 20,000 page views and nothing happens, so what? A page view simply means that the browser loaded the page.
Okay.
Well, but the person whose screen the page is showing on may have gone off to make a cup of tea. They may not be looking at your website at all.
Okay.
So engagement means that somebody's doing something. They're moving up and down the page. They're watching a video. They're filling in a form, right? That means they're actually proactively engaging with your content, with your calls to action, with what you're trying to get them to do. And that is what you want to see.
Okay.
So what Google's doing is making a distinction between people who are, quote, engaged users, actively doing something, and people who are, they have the browser open on your website, but that really doesn't mean much. So,
okay.
So you want to dig deeper than the sort of basic metrics. And again, that goes back to, so what do you want them to do? For example, with this podcast or with videos, a lot of people don't realize that many people check out of videos and podcasts very, very quickly if they get bored.
Right.
And one of the things you can do with analytics, which is very helpful, is to find out how much of the content people consumed, how much of the video they watched, how much of the podcast they listened to, if it's just audio, right? And I mean, I know I've worked with business owners who've made the most amazing videos with the most amazing content. The problem is that the content doesn't start in the first 30 or so seconds.
Right.
They spent the time going, hello, my name is, and I've been this for blah, blah years. And before that, I was this. And, everybody's like, no. And they're gone before they get into what people would have loved to have heard. And without, again, the thing I love about analytics is without the numbers, without that kind of data, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, that's true.
So to me, that's the power of it. It's starting to tell you stories about what's going on for you that you couldn't otherwise know.
That is so true, because I do a lot of Facebook advertising because I don't know anything about Google, right? But it is in a video, the first 6 seconds, and actually it's even 3 seconds. If you don't grab their attention right away, they're gone. And
Yep.
I think I mean, it used to be what, 7 times and then 15 times. Now it's like 32 times you have to get their attention before they're actually willing to listen.
I
So,
don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
so
yeah.
the word SEO, 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 is a pretty popular phrase or term right now. And so what's your opinion? Is it about the SEO or is it about the analytics or is it all the same thing? Like if I want to grab as many people as possible, what do you recommend? Call you, right? But
No, well, I'm a marketing strategist, but I actually don't do, SEO is a specialty. I
okay,
know people who are great SEO specialists. I
okay,
personally know enough to be dangerous, but I won't do it for you.
okay.
I used to do it, but not anymore. But
Hmm.
the thing is, I think you need to adjust your question,
Okay.
because the question is, what is it you're trying to do? Going back to that,
Okay.
right? So you're talking about two different things. SEO is a way to acquire visitors.
Okay.
And the key thing about that is that you want to acquire people who are qualified for the kinds of traffic that you want, you
Okay.
know, who are likely to do whatever kind of businesses it is that you're doing.
Hmm.
And analytics is helping you to understand not only how you got them to your website, but then what they do when they get there,
Okay.
and whether or not they convert, i.e., they fulfill the outcomes that you want.
Okay.
So they're different things,
Yeah.
and they're actually very different skills. I mean, one of the things about digital marketing that's so interesting to me is that there are so many different skills involved.
Mm.
So there are, and actually analytics, to me, one of the reasons I really love it is because it's an amazing combination of being a geek. So you do have to be kind of geeky. You have to get the data clean for a start, otherwise, as we said, garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
And I will do that, and I do sort of enjoy it. But then you get creative, because the analysis will maybe tell you something's going on, but it won't tell you why, and it
Okay.
won't tell you what to do about it.
Gotcha. So,
So
oh,
then there's scope to have interesting ideas and say, let's try this.
so that's where, okay. So I think I understand now. So you get the people to the website. So, and then you take over from there. It's kind of like a relay team, right? So you take the baton and you're able to analyze what the people are doing on the website once they're there. And then do you provide strategies that you said to help figure out how to keep them there or what needs to happen after that? Is that?
Yeah, but I'm actually not. I'm the team at the top. I create the strategies. I can help
Oh,
create
okay.
strategies. So you said you
Okay.
do Facebook ads, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would be looking at that too and saying, for example, are you targeting the right types of people?
Okay.
If Are your Facebook ads getting any results? If not, why not?
Okay.
Is it, yeah, for example, I would say, is that your key way of getting traffic? Because if so, is that valid?
Okay.
The interesting thing about social media advertising is that it honestly, in all the analytics I've looked at, it tends to be less productive,
Yeah.
because people on social media normally they're not looking for products and services. They're there to hang out with their friends, to see what's going
Mhm.
on, to watch cat videos, right, or whatever. They're usually, or well, it depends which one, of course. It could be Pinterest, it could be Instagram. Maybe they are looking for interesting ideas and pictures of things that they could do. But you have to think about that.
Mhm.
So as I said, for example, organic search,
Mhm.
like Google search, tends to generate more qualified traffic, because people are proactively searching for something. That means they're actually looking for something they want to find.
Okay.
Email marketing is very interesting, because for years and years people have been saying email is dead, email is so old fashioned, nobody uses email anymore, and it's just not true.
I agree.
Email continues to be, when you look at it, surveys of marketers,
Mhm.
when people say, what's your most successful marketing channel, email just keeps coming out, because email means, especially now in this age of consent and privacy and all the rest of it, I've given you my email address. That means I've said you can contact me.
Yeah.
And that means I want to hear from you, or at least I don't mind hearing from you.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Until you subscribe, but yeah.
So, having a diverse set of diverse ways of attracting traffic is really well worth it instead of just having one key channel.
I love that because, there's certain individuals that I get emails every single day from, and
Right.
I was looking over one. He's been emailing me for 5 years before I finally looked into him. 5 years. I had
5
no
years.
clue. And so
Wow.
it's crazy. And then, email really does work. And the other thing is, if you ever lose your account, or if you ever lose, Facebook can shut you down, Google can shut you down, any of them can shut you down, but your email list is what actually, that's your bread and butter. That's where you can go back to and continue. If somebody comes to an event that you're holding, or they call you, or they do something, you can follow up forever with that. So I agree. Email is important, and it is not dead.
So basically, I'm a strategist. That means I help you to figure out your overall marketing plan.
Okay.
And then you can bring in specialists to do things like SEO, social media advertising, etc. And the analytics then helps us to figure out whether that strategy is working and where it needs to be tweaked.
Okay.
Because I always, you can figure out the best possible strategies. You can design your website like the best way you can possibly think of. And when it goes live and people actually start using it, you always learn a lot. That's my experience.
That's fantastic. So somebody who's just starting out, say, because somebody who's just barely starting out, they would sit down with you, and then you'd come up with a strategy for them on what you'd recommend they do. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
also, set up the analytics so that, because as I said, the default settings are not great, but also there are many, many things you can do, for example, with Google Analytics, which don't come out of the box, but which you can set up. So, for example, if you have long pages of content, one of the things you're going to want to know is how far down the page do people go?
Okay.
Because if they don't scroll all the way down the page and you've got important content at the bottom, they're never going to see it.
Right.
So by default, Google Analytics will tell you when somebody gets 90% down the page.
Okay.
But 90% on a long page can be quite a long way. So if they don't make it, you want to know, well, okay, did they get 25, 50? How far did they get? And so you can set it to measure more than just 90%. One of the other things you can do is to hook it up with your Google Ads. If you're running Google Ads, the platform, you can hook it up. If you're doing SEO, there's a thing called Google Search Console, which monitors from Google's perspective how your SEO is going. And you can hook it up to that. So
beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.
You can monitor what's going on with that.
That's a good idea.
And what people put into it. And what people put into it is a goldmine of market research, because it's telling you, what do your visitors expect you to be providing? And sometimes, I have all sorts of stories about how that gives us, myself and my clients, ideas of here's things that we could create. Might be a product, might be a service, right? So there's all sorts of things that you can dig into. So one of the things that I also like to do close to the beginning is to set the analytics up with to customize it.
Okay.
So it can be very heavily customized to reflect exactly what somebody wants. If you have forms on your site, so we've just talked about email. If you're trying to get somebody's email address, are the forms working? Do people try to fill in the form, but they don't finish? Like if you have a very long form, that's usually the kiss of death, right? But you can track that. You can track, like if you have an ebook, how many people download the ebook?
Okay.
So there's just for everything that happens on the site, just you can start looking at how is this performing, And so you can really get a high level of customization, but you need to set that up properly so that you can rely on the data when the data starts to come in.
I think that people sometimes they're afraid to hire somebody like you as an expert because they're afraid that it's going to just cost them so much money. But I think that, you have to look at, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you have to look at a different way is how much is it costing you not having somebody do that,
Well, if you're paying out money for things like, well, A, your website development, B, your ads, if you're doing ads, your SEO person, your social media person, right? You want to know what the ROI is. And the thing is, without the analytics, as I said, a lot of the time, you don't know what you don't know. And so, I mean, honestly, I truly believe that if you're not looking at analytics, you're shooting in the dark with your entire investment in your website. And I've had people say, well, but Philippa, I really don't need to worry about it. I get 20x or X sales a week, and that's fine. I'm doing great. And okay, wouldn't you rather get more sales, or would you rather get those sales more cheaply?
Yeah.
Usually it's unusual that somebody really has no need for doing this kind of thing.
Right. Interesting. Well, is there any one piece of advice that you'd recommend people that are, they're not getting as much results from their website? What's one thing that you would recommend that they do?
What you need to do if you're not getting the results you need is just start honing in on, okay, what is it I'm trying to do?
Okay.
What are the metrics I'm using to measure that? And start looking at those metrics, what's going on, and drill down. Are certain types of people more successful than others? Is that because of where they come from in terms of your marketing channels? Is it where they come from in terms of their geography? I mean, you've just got to start digging. Don't treat all your visitors as the same, because they're not.
Right. Sure.
So analytics has this wonderful thing called segmenting, where you can put people into different types of groups. But if you're not sure that what you've got going on is working, start digging.
Wow. I'll just hire you just so you can take care of it. So, I mean, seriously, as an entrepreneur, as a business, you're wearing so many different hats. And if your main goal is to get traffic, then, it's just like setting up your business. If you don't know what you're doing, hire an attorney. If you don't know how to set up your business to sell more, then hire somebody like you, a strategist that can help. So
right.
Thank you.
And I should say to your listeners, I do have an introductory or a complimentary 30-minute consult that's on my website. If you're happy to take advantage of that.
And what is your website?
Websitesthatwin.com. So it's websites plural THAT win.com. And also on there's a free ebook, of course, which is called 5 Hidden Gems. And it's designed to help business owners really understand the power of this stuff. So it's 5 stories from my own experience of where we found an insight that we couldn't have otherwise known, and that led us to develop a different product or service or do something very different with the website. That obviously was successful. In English, no, there are no charts, there's no graphs. It's just really designed to tell some stories where people might get inspired and say, hey, I wonder if something similar could be happening for me. And that's also on my website. And again, it's absolutely free. You're welcome to download it.
Well, thank you, Philippa. Websites that win. That's right. Fantastic. That's even a catchy name. So Unbreakable Mompreneurs, if you want more business, if you want your websites to work better for you, then take advantage of Philippa's 30-minute free consultation. And it could be something that could change your entire trajectory of your business. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Have a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.